Hey everybody, this is John Lamb. I teach at the University of Kansas, and this is Shakespeare Off the Shelf. Today I want to talk about a play, one of my favorite Shakespeare plays called Midsummer Night's Dream. I want to start with this play because, well, for two reasons. The first is that I teach it in a class called English 300, Introduction to English Studies, so I have a lot to say about this play that I share with the students. The second reason is that when I was a freshman in college, I took a Shakespeare class. It was the first Shakespeare class I'd ever taken. I was a computer science major at the time, and this play, more than anything else, persuaded me to switch my major over to English. So in some ways, that's why I have become an English professor today. So it's a great play, and it's fun to talk about. I want to talk, though, about the opening play, the opening bit of the play. Shakespeare's cold open, we might call it. A cold open, as you might know, is a term we use for television shows. And it's those first few moments of a television show before the credits have rolled. And it's right when it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when we're cold, we the viewers are cold. We have no idea what the show's about. We don't know what this particular episode might be focused on. And the goal of the cold open is to start the show before the credits. Now, importantly, and this is the key, the best cold opens don't just give us plot information. The best cold opens set the tone for the show. So shows like Parks and Rec are really good at this. Perhaps my favorite show, my favorite cold opens, and I think a lot of people's too, are Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The cold opens in that show famously set a perfect tone for the show. In some ways, the cold opens of Brooklyn Nine-Nine are so good that they've actually there's like a separate genre for them. In fact, if you Google on YouTube or whatever, search for Brooklyn Nine-Nine cold opens, there are whole fan-made compilations of Brooklyn Nine-Nine cold opens. Other shows do too. So The Wire famously had fantastic cold opens. The West Wing is another show that had great cold opens. I mean, you name it. There's lots of shows that have those. Basically, it's those moments before the credits roll, those moments that set the tone for the show. Well, Shakespeare was a writer of plays, and he also had to create cold opens in the sense that he had to have actors walk out on stage and start talking with very little information necessary or given to the audience. Obviously, most audiences would have known the title of the play they were performing, or if you're reading in a playbook, they would have understood the title and usually the genre from the title page of the playbook. But that doesn't change the fact that Shakespeare's opening scenes often function very much like cold opens. And Midsummer Night's Dream is no exception. So here we go. We get Theseus and Hippolyta entering, with others, the text says. And Theseus starts talking. Now, before I start reading, remember Theseus in Shakespeare's time was a fairly well-known hero, a classical mythological hero. He was understood to be a great military figure, and so the name Theseus signified a little bit like the name Abe Lincoln or George Washington might in modern-day America. There's differences, but you get the idea. So Theseus walks up, and he begins to speak. Here we go. He says, "Now, fair Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace. 4 happy days bring in another moon, but oh, methinks how slow this old moon wanes. She lingers my desires, like to a stepdame or a dowager, long withering out a young man's revenue." So let's decode this a little bit. Theseus is talking to Hippolyta, the woman he is about to marry, and he's describing the fact that it's coming on. It's going to come. The day of their wedding, their nuptial hour, is coming quickly. It draws on apace. But there's a problem. Halfway through the speech, despite having just said how quickly the marriage is coming, which is to say in 4 days, another moon will come, and that's when they're going to get married, so 4 days away, he says, "Oh, how slowly it's coming." So first he says how fast it's coming, draws on a pace, but then he flips and he says, "Oh, how slow, how long this is taking. She lingers my desires." Well, the subtext here is that Theseus is really excited to enjoy the benefits, the sexual benefits of marriage. And so he's really, 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 really excited. And he's kind of frustrated that he has to wait 4 whole days in order to enjoy that sexual union. Hippolyta is a different story. We might expect Hippolyta to resist Theseus's sexual excitement, to try and quiet him down a little bit. We might expect Hippolyta, in responding to this, to say, "Easy, bro. You've got to calm down. It's 4 days. Just chill." And she does say that, but she doesn't say it in the way we might expect. Hippolyta responds, "4 days will quickly steep themselves in night. 4 nights will quickly dream away the time, and then the moon, like to a silver bow new bent in heaven, shall behold the night of our solemnities." So she does actually say, the first 2 lines of her speech, she does say, hey buddy, this is going to go quickly. She even uses the term quickly twice, in exactly the same place in both lines there. 4 days will quickly steep themselves in night. 4 nights will quickly dream away the time. She responds by saying, it's going to come faster than you think. 4 days doesn't go that long, especially when you're the king of Athens. But then she does something that I find really interesting. Instead of saying, stop being so excitable sexually, she says, she actually charges his imagination. She gives him more images to think about, right? She says, the moon like a silver bow new bent in heaven will behold the night of our solemnities. So she actually gives him a kind of scene to imagine. The moon is going to, the new moon, which will be like a silver bow, will actually shine upon these people, this sexual union. So she actually gives him, she feeds his sexual imagination rather than impoverishing it. And I think the key to understanding why she does this is to look a little bit farther forward. A little bit farther forward, Theseus reminds her, he says, this is line 16 in my text. He says, Hippolyta, I wooed thee with my sword and won thy love doing thee injuries. And that's an oblique reference, not really oblique, it's actually a fairly clear reference to the fact that Theseus conquered Hippolyta's homeland and has taken her away as a prize. And so when he says, I wooed thee with my sword, he's reminding us that Theseus was in fact an invading conqueror, and that Hippolyta is in some ways forced to marry him. And that, I think, explains why Hippolyta is willing to, let's call it, marital pragmatics. She's responding to him and his sexual excitement in a really kind of politically sensitive way. And the best performances that I've seen find a way to make that subtext really clear in the opening. In fact, I saw the 2019 Bridge Theatre production in London. I was lucky enough to see that. And the actor playing Hippolyta actually began the performance in a plexiglass box as a way of reminding the audience visually that she was in fact a captive wife. But to return to the main point here, this is Shakespeare's cold open. In some ways, Shakespeare is using this opening exchange to set the entire tone for the play, because this is a play about sexual desire. It's a play about the relationship between consent and desire. So we have Bottom and we have Hermia and Helena later in the play. And the play is constantly playing on that, not playing on that in a bad sense, playing on that in a good sense, thinking about, troubling the relationship between consent and desire. And what do we have here but a very clear attempt to open up the conflict between desire, not conflict between, but the relationship between desire and consent in a kind of troubling manner. So this is Shakespeare setting a tone, as it were. This is a G-rated comedy that has some R-rated features, and he manages to stack both of those together in this opening little moment. It's brilliant. All right, that's the end of Shakespeare's Cold Open. I'll see you for the next video in a few days.